So with that, I will go ahead and introduce our set of panelists. We are starting with Dr. Rose Brewer, whose piece is positioned under the theme of revisiting legacies of Black feminist sociology and how they ground us. Her piece was titled The Radical Black Feminist Project, Reimagining a Critical Sociology.
Thank you. Thank you all for bringing this together today. I am so pleased to be a part of the symposium. I think the best way for me to begin this discussion is with a brief revisit to 20th century sociological discourses on critical sociology and the emerging perspectives of Black feminist sociology. In my chapter, this is the starting point, but I press another argument. I call for a radical Black feminist project that fundamentally shifts the terrain of traditional critical sociology. I noted in my 1989 article, Black Women in Feminist Sociology, The Emerging Perspective, that critical theorists such as Habermas presented an alternative view of sociological knowledge. Also, the Gramscian idea of hegemony brought intellectuals into the processes of domination. These thinkers critiqued scholars who failed to question power, domination, and the status quo, and drew upon the critical Marxist insight that ideas bear an important relationship to interest. Indeed, so long as conflict of interest exists, knowledge will remain affected and distorted. Critical thinkers such as W.E.B. Du Bois, C. Wright Mills, further articulated the idea that intellectuals have a political and moral concern, so values are inevitable. This contention that values and interests are implicit in the evolution of sociological knowledge underpins the Black feminist sociology critique of the field. What traditional critical sociologists did not interrogate was how racism and sexism simultaneously articulate knowledge production. The erasure of women's knowledges runs through sociological thought. This absent anchored my discussion in 1989 of what I call the fourth critique of the field, in a section focused on Black feminism and the intersection of race, class, and gender. I asserted that this reworking of mainstream sociological thought was at the heart of the new Black feminist sociology. Thus, by the time the article was written, it was increasingly apparent that the Eurocentric critical sociological tradition was theoretically distorting in some ways, given the race-gender dialectic. It was evident that Black uprisings over the previous decade, the call to decolonize sociological knowledge and to end white sociology, a la Joyce Ladner in her 1972 volume, were core to pressing for change in the field. Sociology was being challenged, and it was not surprising that the critical sociologist could be interrogated through the lens of a Black feminist sociology. The press to decolonize the field by articulating knowledges of those who live it was a deep intervention. Relevant here from the period was the insight of eminent Black psychologist Kenneth Clark stating, "The tombs collect dust from Johnson to Moynihan to the Kerner Commission. The solution is the creation of committed scholars of color who develop emancipatory paradigms." Of course, this point demands not just a race perspective, but a race, class, and gender analysis. Nonetheless, the erasure of race characterized the increasingly visible white feminist sociology of the time. This thought of white feminism was again another space to interrogate. It was interrogated in pioneered perspectives of sociologists such as Deal, Rogers Rose, Collins, Black writers such as Alice Walker and Toni Cade Bambara too were crafting the frame, influencing Black feminist thinking. I read them voraciously. When all is said and done, it was the political economic underpinnings of Black women's lives that would deeply capture my radical feminist sociological imagination. When I use the term radical Black sociology, I lift up the transformational component of its logic, given racial capitalism. It's not enough to integrate Black feminism into the existing order, but to articulate a praxis for fundamental social change. For me and others, the Combahee River Collective Statement, published in 1977, looms large in how we think about a transformational, radical Black feminist sociology. Radical Black feminism is a Black feminism which is anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist, anti-heteropatriarchal, anti-white supremacist. It aligns with a critical sociology drawing upon Marxist insights while centering race and gender simultaneously. Radical Black feminism articulates the simultaneity of these systems, challenging the masculinist frame, and presses for fundamental change of the existing social order. Black women are made visible and epistemologically robust in the analysis. Labor is not simply at the point of production or a wage question, but the expropriation of Black women's racialized reproductive and productive lives, being, culture, and creativity. Let me close out with just a few more remarks. I'm sure my 8 minutes is about up. But I'd like to end with this idea of transformation. And it flows from that space of energy, care, and vision that extends beyond critique. Social transformation requires a different political dynamic and sensibility, a different meter, if you will, means a radical reimagining, practice and theory of change, of how we move communally and for ourselves to create another world. It is personal, collective, but fundamentally systemic. It requires clarity and meaning rooted in the fact that we must be clear about this political moment. We must have vision and transform our consciousness. We must be strategic and connected, create that new world. The social transformation is a deep process, a praxis. That is, change does not happen linearly in the same degree or with the same tempo. Radical Black feminists, from Claudia Jones to the Black lesbian feminist of the Combahee River Collective to the radical Black queer feminist of the 21st century, articulate this. Radical Black feminism locates the imperative of the dispossessed at the center of the analysis, and the world's people in deep relationality coming together for fundamental social change. This struggle must be at the core of our theory and practice. This is at the heart of the Radical Black Feminism Project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was wonderful. And I don't know if you were able to see in the chat, but you have some of your former students saying hello and other folks agreeing how foundational your work has been. So we are just honored to have you share with us and be a part of the volume. Really because you have like helped us focus in. So we appreciate that. If any of you do have questions for the panelists, we will